Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome to all the devotees for today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. So, unfortunately, last week we could not have class because I was traveling that day. Last Saturday I came home and today also I'm at home only. So, so in the previous class, we were discussing about Bharat Maharaj as an ideal example of a perfect devotee and also as an ideal king. As per his responsibility, he was performing all the different variety of fire sacrifices which are meant for the prosperity of the kingdom. So wherein, while the priests were chanting Idam Indraya Swaha, Idam Noma, Bharat Maharaj within the core of his heart, he would think that, okay, this offering is meant for the hands of my worshipful Lord Vishnu, Vasudeva. When they say that Idam Somaya Nama, Idam Noma, you would say that this offering is meant for the mind of my Supreme Lord, because the moon is the presiding deity of mind. So moon resides in the mind of the universal form. So in that way, like that, he would perform all the variety of sacrifices. And he was so wonderful devotee. This entire tract of land, which was when it was given to Nabi, it was known as Nabi Varsha. Later on, when Nabi's son, Lord Rishabhadeva was ruling, it was known as Ajnaba Varsha. Later on, when Bharat Maharaj was ruling the same land, it became known as Bharata Varsha, because Bharata Maharaj is so wonderful, great devotee. And after Bharata Maharaj, it did not change its name. It remained as Bharata Varsha only. So afterward, there was no such a wonderful person since. So in that way, we should see. And that Bharata Maharaj, after ruling over the kingdom for many hundreds and thousands of years, he thought that I'm not sure whether I have completed my duties or not, my responsibilities toward the kingdom, whether I've executed perfectly or not. Thinking like that, he retired and went to forest. Initially, he went to the place where he was located on the banks of Gandaki river. He got Shaligram Shila of Vasudeva. He was worshipping Shaligram Shila, offering with the roots and fruits, whatever available nearby. And like that, he was worshipping very nicely. Everything is happening very nicely. And then one day, after completing his morning bathing and while after doing his morning Gayatri and while he was meditating upon the Supreme Lord, he saw one mother deer came there and drinking water. Suddenly, it heard the roaring of a lion. In order to protect herself, it tried to jump across the lake, but out of many other things, it was already noonday, summer, sunny day, summer. It was already fatigued, and suddenly there is a fear of lion. It was already pregnant, carrying heavy. While it was jumping, there was a miscarriage. So the baby deer came out of the womb and fell into the water canal. And this mother deer fell into the other side. There is a gufa kind of thing, like cave kind of thing with surrounded by rocks. It hit and died. So since Bharata Maharaj was cooking everything, it was happening from upstream. As the stream coming down, he jumped into water and collected the baby deer and he took care of the baby deer. He was thinking that this deer mother did not come in a group. It came alone. Seems that it was lost its group. So he also does not know where the group is there. So now he cannot send it back to the similar deers. He was taking care of it because previously he was a king, a compassionate king. Out of compassion, he was taking care of the deer like a father, mother, caretaker. So by the way, while taking care of the deer, he kind of neglected his daily duties of his worship, morning and noon and evening worships. Because he thought that showing compassion to the surrendered soul is greater than one's own uh, devotional practices. So like that. So if whenever he would not see the deer around, he would stop his duties and look for the deer here and there, search for it and like that. So one fine day, same thing happened. While he was executing yajna, the deer disappeared. He was searching for the deer here, etc., etc., etc. Then eventually it was setting, the sun is setting and moon is rising. And while you are searching in the daytime, you are thinking that sun is very hot, and then suddenly moon rise up and the moon is very cold. But you are thinking that today why the moon is very hot? Because he was not able to experience the coolness of the moon. He is in anxiety. He is experiencing the hot heat out of separation from the air. So he was telling like that. And at one point of time, he was actually glorifying the earth. The earth is so great that it was decorated by the footprints of the deer, the baby deer. The earth is so fortunate. No one else is that much fortunate like that. Acharya say that he is actually glorifying Lord Vishnu. Whenever Lord appears, the Lord's footprints are marked on the surface of the earth. And as a result of that, the earth becomes so glorious. So, like that, the Acharya say that actually is glorifying the Mother Earth and is considering the deer cub, deer baby to be the Supreme Lord. And it's something like that. But in whatever the current story, he is thinking that because now he is not able to see the deer, but the earth can never be separate from the deer. The deer is always walking on the surface of the earth only somewhere or the other. It cannot go here and there. So like that. So that is the whole idea. So, so that's where we stopped. And then he began to speak out of anxiety that he is not able to find the deer. So let us continue from text number 16 onwards. I think last time we completed up to 15. We'll continue from here. So someone can read the translation for the text number 16.
Bharat Maharaj would think, alas, my mind is like a cunning hunter, for it is always filled with cheating propensities and cruelty.
In between, your voice was breaking. I was not able to hear you.
Should I read
You
it
can,
from the beginning
yes,
again?
yes, Mataji. Once again, please read.
Bharat Maharaj would think, alas, the deer is now helpless. I am now very unfortunate, and my mind is like a cunning hunter, for it is always filled with cheating propensities and cruelty. The deer has put its faith in me just as a good man who has a natural interest in good behavior forgets the misbehavior of a cunning friend and puts his faith in him. Although I have proved faithless, will this deer return and place its faith in me?
So these are the words he's speaking out of compassion. He is actually reprimanding himself and speaking like that. So I will just follow from the previous verse. Sometimes not seeing the deer, Bharata Maharaj's mind would become pitifully disturbed, like a miser who has lost his wealth. For a miser, wealth is everything because he does not want to part his wealth with anybody. If somebody steals the wealth away, for him, losing his life is easy than wealth. So that is the nature of miser. So like that, same thing is happening here. He would become greatly bewildered and lament. His heart was pained by pangs of separation from the small deer. With longing to see it, he would speak as follows. So what does he speaks? Perhaps this young helpless deer, whose mother has died, having faith in me, though I am actually cruel like a cunning or low class person, and have no past credits, will not consider my offense and will return out of kindness. So here Bharata Maharaj putting himself in the shoes of a butcher. A butcher also rears the household animals very nicely, as if he is there for those animals in every situation. He takes care of them, fondles them, and like anything. But one fine day, he cuts them off and sells their meat. So Bharat Maharaj putting himself like that kind of situation and says that I am showing compassion to it with selfish motive. I'm such a cruel person. The deer has understood. That's why he left me. But in order to show compassion on me, the deer will return without considering my offense seriously. So like that, he is speaking. So this is how Bharata Maharaj actually reprimanding himself and anticipating the return of the deer. This is the greatness of his compassion. Api indicates possibility. Pata indicates compassion. Aho indicates surprise due to lamentation. I have the cruel mind of a cheater or low class person. I am heartless. Being inattentive to feeding and protecting the young deer. See, this is again another point. He is actually thinking previously it is said that it is better to take care of the surrendered than to perform one's own daily duties. And now he is telling that I am heartless, being inattentive of to feeding and protecting the young deer. So the deer has taken shelter of me, I am not taking care of it, so it felt bad and left. What kind of shelter giver I am? So like that, he is reprimanding himself for no fault of his. What is the cause? I have not done pious acts. He's telling that I have not done pious activity. That's why the deer left me. I am without good fortune. Then he thinks that will the deer return? Not considering the offense I have committed out of cruelty. Like what is the offense? I have not fed it nicely and protected nicely. He is telling like that. In spite of forgetting his own duties for the sake of taking care of the deer. So this is the kind of compassion which Bharata Maharaj is displaying. So, but anyway, from external point of view, this is the storyline. But we have already discussed about this in the beginning. First chapter, I suppose, in the case of Priyat Maharaj, there are two kinds of impediments. One impediment is due to aparada. Second kind of impediment is due to Lord's will. So, aparada, the impediment caused by aparada can be rectified in two ways. One is if the person who offended begs forgiveness from the person who got offended. So if that person is completely forgiven, so the offense will be removed easily. On the other side, if the offense is serious and he has not begged forgiveness, then it will continue for a long time. That person has to get suffering for a long time. Once bhakti will be delayed for a long time. On the other side, by Lord's will, once going back to God, it will be delayed. That is just to show a lesson to all of us. So there are two examples are shown in this canto. One is Priyat Maharaj, second one is Bharat Maharaj. The Priyat Maharaj example is that one should listen to the elders. By following the dictates of the elders, one will definitely go to spiritual world. Maybe a little later, but that person will gain lot of mercy from the elders and the Supreme Lord. He will attain Krupa Siddhi. He will attain Krupa and hence he will attain Krupa Siddhi. The second thing, another example is our Bharat Maharaj. If compassion is an impediment to bhakti, that kind of compassion should not be practiced. Here, compassion is good, but the compassion should not go to the extent that it is causing, it is obstructing one spiritual practices. It should not go to that extent. So for that reason, this pastime is narrated in the fifth canto. So it is like that. In our book, what was that? Bhagavatam as a seeker journey. So I don't know. Based on my understanding of Bhagavatam, based on my reading, I have mentioned that Canto 4 and Canto 5 will tell us what are the different kind of impediment that can come in the life of a sadhaka, and how these cantos are inspiring us to tackle these obstacles and overcome them gracefully. So all the list of obstacles with respect to different pastimes, as per my little understanding, I have listed them in that book in the second part of that book, Bhagavatam as Seeker Journey. And here, Rutu Maharaj is also mentioned there, and Bharata Maharaj also mentioned the same thing. This aparadha thing, not aparadha. This Lord's will. When compassion is going to become an obstacle, one should be careful about that compassion. So that is the reason. So here, Bharata Maharaj, we can see. So is that compassion has overpowered him. He previously already forgotten his daily devotional practices, and now he is reprimanding himself. So that is the way it goes. He is thinking that I counted offense. What is the offense? What is the cause of that offense? The deer considered that I was pure like it was. According to the rule, one thinks the world like oneself. Atmavan mannete jagat. So deer is an innocent animal, and deer thought that so he is giving me shelter, he is my friend, he is also like me. But it realized my cruelty today. That's why it left me. So my offense is I hid my cruelty all these days. I was acting as if I was a friendly and pure person. That's what he is portraying that is my offense. So like that. It had faith in me who cannot be trusted. Person like me should not be trusted, but the deer had put faith on me. So like that.
Hare Krishna.
Ah, yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, in this whole pastime of Bharat Maharaj getting attracted to the deer, like the main teaching what Lord wants to teach all of us is only that the compassion towards anybody should not supersede the
Mm.
one's devotional practices. Is that the
Yes.
right one?
Yeah.
Okay. But means
No.
actually it,
If we extrapolate that, the worldly moral qualities, they need to be practiced, but they should not overpower our bhakti. Just like karma jnana are also essential for our daily living. To live in this world, we also need to perform activities in relation to karma, activities in relation to jnana. But Rupa Goswami says that jnana karmadi anavrutam. We should practice that kind of bhakti, which may include karma activities and jnana activities, but they should not overpower our bhakti. Then that bhakti is called uttama bhakti. And this example is all these are the moral code of conduct and moral qualities.
so
So
although
they should
like
be practiced, but they should not supersede our bhakti. So in that way.
okay, so it was means should we understand it this way that it was the Lord's arrangement because we say now in like in the beginning also you mentioned that like how in Prevarata Maharaj case we discussed that the causes of downfalls are various ways and how one can get uplifted from there. So in that we discussed Bharat Maharaj pastime as the Lord's wish.
Ah.
So because he was at the platform of bhava we saw in the
Mm.
previous verses, so from there also somebody can uh, somebody can have a downfall
No,
just
we
because
cannot say it is downfall. It is not
yeah
downfall.
means it,
There
means it
also
also
one may be misdirected, one may be deviated. He did not do any mistake in such a
no
way to say that is downfall. It is that even there also there is a chance that because as a person, as a king, it is a king's virtue showing compassion. We also gave the example of Shibi Maharaj, who was ready to cut off his flesh. That is also good because that time he was king. As a king, he should do that. But now here he has taken to Vanaprastha order. Now he is not bound by that principle. That principle is required to be followed, but he is not bound by that principle. If he still continued as a king, he should be bound by that principle as a Raja Dharma. But now it is renounced. The renounced dharma, renunciation dharma will be superior than all other dharmas which pertain to householder.
yeah
So
so
that
Praveen,
principle.
what I meant was that means from the platform of bhava, he could show the symptoms like this because he was under the influence of yogamaya of the Lord, because Lord only orchestrated all the this
No, no, no,
part.
no. See, if you say everything Lord only orchestrated, there is no fun in that. Okay, भगवान ने किया उससे क्या होगा कुछ? I mean, we don't learn anything. It's okay, fine. It is for us to Lord only orchestrated for us to give the lesson. But for our, if we want to learn anything, you keep that in aside. Don't put that in foreground.
Okay.
That is only Lord's orchestrating the pastime is only for Bharata Maharaj. For Bharata Maharaj के लिए कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं. सो आज नहीं तो भगवान का हाथ में है, आज नहीं तो कल जाएंगे स्पिरिचुअल वर्ल्ड में, उनको कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं. बट फ्रॉम आवर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, even for a person who has gone to Bhava platform, if he still attached to the principles which are supposed to be followed in the lower stages, so there is a chance that one will be delayed in going back to Godhead.
Yeah.
So it's like that.
Thank you. Actually, क्या होता है ना प्रभु जी, it becomes difficult. Like somewhere at the back of mind, we have that yes, it is Lord or has orchestrated because He wanted to teach us certain principles. So Bharat Maharaj was just the instrument to show that. And also, then we have to understand going into the pastime that yes, these are the things we should be avoiding. So दोनों में थोड़ा tussle होता है. Sometimes
So
one, yeah.
no, kindly. I mentioned this again and again. Who should be avoided? Who should not avoid it also? A king should not avoid, but now he is renounced. इनका situation अलग है. Shibi Maharaj, he was a king. He was ready to give his life. That is appreciated there, but not here. Now he is a renounced person. Here the rules are different. There the rules are different.
Right. Thank you.
So it's like that. Harichandra, Satya Harichandra, just for the sake of one word, he has given up everything. And he went to forest here, there, and his wife was working as a maid servant, and her son died, and he was came to he brought that son to the smashan, and he was working as a person who is doing the duties in the smashan, and the child has to be burnt, and he said, please pay for me, and she does not have any money. So it went all the way up to that extent. So the rules are entirely different. It's a big this thing. But anyway, next translation. Someone please read. Hare Krishna. Someone please read the translation from the book.
Alas, is it possible that I shall again see this animal protected by the Lord and fearless of tigers and other animals? Shall I again see him wandering in the garden, eating soft grass?
Yeah, he says that perhaps he is hoping I will find the deer has been protected by the Lord and is grazing free fearlessly on grass in the garden of the hermitage. Previously, he was thinking that is any tiger has eaten up the deer like that. Now he's thinking that by God's grace, the deer must have been protected and it might be eating some nice grasses and I'll be able to see it. So he's hoping. Maybe the deer has been protected by my merciful Lord. So it's like that. And then he says that perhaps a wolf or a jackal or a tiger or in a group of animals has eaten the deer. On one side, the Supreme Lord, my worshipful Lord, might have protected the deer. On the other side, not sure, perhaps somebody might have eaten a tiger, jackal, or another set of ferocious animals. So, like that. Those traveling in groups are wild boars. Those traveling alone are tigers and others. Will they not eat him? Some other animals, out of frivolity, they might have fought with this and kill and some animals might eat it, something like that. So he is permutations and combinations he is actually thinking about it. Now he says that the sun which rises to give benefit to the whole world, composed of the three Vedas, Traya Atma, is setting. So since afternoon he was searching for the deer. Now it is already late evening, sunset. So the sun is setting now. I was not able to find it because once it is dark, he cannot see anything because in the forest. The young deer entrusted to me by its mother has not returned yet. Its mother died thinking that this sage will protect my child. She has put faith on me. Now I failed fulfilling that promise. So like that, he is saying. The sun now sets by rising it, by rising, the sun gives benefit to the whole world. But to me alone, there is no benefit, since I am the most unfortunate person. The sun is the form of the Vedas and reveals the Vedas. I alone, opposite to its dharma or dharma of mercy. The deer has been entrusted to me by its mother. So tomorrow morning, when sun rises, the entire world will be happy, but I will be the most miserable person because I could not protect this baby deer. I failed to fulfill the promise that I gave to the mother deer. So like that, he is thinking about himself. The next he says that perhaps the prince among the deer will return and driving away my grief by his pleasant deer actions give happiness to me who have not done any pious acts. By Lord's will, tomorrow the baby deer will return, which is the prince among all the deer categories, and it will it will be the cause of my happiness. It will out of compassion, it will come to me back, and I will be happy. So like that is saying. Out of affection, he glorified the deer while lamenting. He still glorified the deer, thinking that okay, it will come and it will give me happiness. When I would close my eyes and fake samadhi, in jest, the deer would approach in great alarm and out of anger in love, butt me with the tender tips of his arms, which felt like water drops. So while I'm engaged in my daily rituals, especially in the morning hours and noon hours during Sandhya rites, I would perform an yajna. While doing that, I would close my eyes. The deer thinking that why my master is not showing attention to it would come from behind and it will try to poke with its horns. And those two horns, the tender horns looks like water drops, but very cold. When it touches from behind, I feel very cold sensation. That means the deer, baby deer always wanted my attention. And now it went away. How can it survive without my attention? It was so attention seeking always. How can it go away? It might be feeling, it might have lost the way and it might be rowing. So something like that. Shevi likayam means while playing. He will approach me with my eyes closed in false samadhi. O fool, though I nourish you, I will not give up my daily duties of remembering and chanting. I am giving you up. Go wherever you want. So sometimes I would enter into false samadhi and I would think like that. You baby dear, you came and you are disturbing my sadhana every day. And today onwards, no, I don't want to take care of you. You go wherever you want. I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to spend time with you. I don't want to play with you. Please go away. I'll not give up my daily duties of remembering and chanting. I'm giving you up. Go wherever you want. So he was telling that because I thought like that sometimes. So you went You take it seriously? I was just joking. So something like that. Pretending to be angry, I would then I would then fake samadhi. Out of desire to see what the deer would do, out of anger in love, the deer would butt me with the tips of his tender horns, which felt like drops of water. So like that. So these are various ways he would actually interact with the baby deer and then the dealings would go on. Then when the deer would contaminate the ingredients of the sacrifice placed on kusha grass, I would scold it. So whenever he would sit for performing a ritual after collecting all the ingredients, the deer would come and mix them apart and flip them around so that the entire area will become very messy. So he would not able to perform. And at that time, I would scold it. Fearful, it would immediately stop playing and like the son of a sage would sit with restrained senses. When it was disturbing my yajna, I would look angrily at it and I would shout loudly and it would become calm and quiet. So like that is it. Did he take it seriously and he left me? So in that sense, the deer would contaminate the ingredients placed on the kusha grass by touching them with his teeth. So Dushitwa, another verses, Dushitwa is some other versions of Bhagavatam, Dushitwa is there, having contaminated the kusha. Well, basically, it would contaminate the entire arena so that it would not be able to perform the yajna. So, but in any case, here, because he was not able to see the deer, he was actually remembering his dealings with the deer in the past, or the days, or the weeks, how he and deer had exchanged emotions with each other. And now, out of separation from the deer, he is thinking about all those things. I would scold the deer. Ha! What you have done? It would give its play and remain with motionless senses. So like that, he was actually remembering all that the deer would do, and because now he's not able to see the deer and did it take it all those things seriously? Now it left because of those things like that. So someone please read the translation, 23rd verse.
After speaking like a
Continue, ma'am.
After speaking like a madman in this way, Maharaj Bharata got up and went outside. Seeing the footprints of the deer on the ground, he praised the footprints out of love, saying, "O unfortunate Bharata, your austerities and penances are very insignificant compared to the penance and austerity undergone by this earth planet. Due to the earth's severe penances, the footprints of this deer which are small, beautiful, most auspicious, and soft, are imprinted on the surface of this fortunate planet. These series of footprints show a person like me who am bereaved due to loss of the deer, how the animal has passed through the forest and how I can regain my lost wealth. By these footprints, this land has become a proper place for Brahmanas who desire heavenly planet or liberation to execute sacrifices to the demigods." Hare Krishna.
Yeah, this verse kind of echoes with Akrura entering into Vrindavan. As soon as he entered into Vrindavan, he saw Krishna's footprints. So, and also Kunti Maharani says in the first canto, that as long as you are around, the entire Hastinapur was filled with the footmarks and eventually it became auspicious. Now, if you go away, the auspicious will go away. Something like that. So now he was searching for the deer while sun is setting. So in the evening time, at the end, he finally found the footprints of the deer. Then he's speaking, looking at them. What penance the earth must have done. The earth is the earth is indicating the path to wealth for this miserly person who suffers from poverty. So basically, he's telling that for me now, the deer, baby deer is my wealth. I have nothing else. That is my wealth. I lost it. That means I lost everything. But Mother Earth is showing me the possibility of retaining that, regaining that wealth by display, by showing me the footprints. So like that is telling. The path to wealth for this miserly person who suffers from poverty by the small, graceful, auspicious footprints of the humble black deer, Krishna Sara. It is called humble black deer means Krishna Sara. The earth has made itself a place of sacrifice for Brahmanas desiring to attain Swarga or liberation by ornamenting itself with these footprints. It is said in the 11th canto also, the place where Krishna Sara deer moves around, that place is auspicious for performing any Vedic rituals. Even to the extent that if one wants to go to Swarga, if they can perform yajna in that place, they will very easily go to Swarga as a result of that yajna. Or in that matter, for any auspicious activity, if a place which is constantly moved by deers, Krishnasara deer, that place becomes unfit for performing Vedic rituals. This is listed in the 11th canto of the Gita. Talking in this way, he would then rise up and go outside. Seeing the earth marked with its footprints, he then criticizes himself by glorifying the deer out of love. He says that, oh, Bharata is unfortunate. He is a useless performer of penance. What penance the earth has done that you have not done? He's telling that the earth has performed greater penance, but I have not done. Or, O people of the 14 worlds, say among you, who has done penance like the earth? You have not done as the earth has done. So, like that. So, he's telling that, O people of the 14 worlds, please tell me who has done that kind of penance that Mother Earth has done. Because the Mother Earth is decorated with the footprints of the deer. Your place, there is no footprints of the deer. None of you has, none of you are as fortunate as this baby deer, the Mother Earth, because the Mother Earth only has the footprints of the baby deer. So like that. So this is from 11th canto. Among the places, any place devoid of the spotted antelope is impure. Akrishna Saro Deshanam. So the context is the places which are impure. Akrishna Saro, that place which is not inhabited by Krishna Sara, Krishna Sara is inauspicious. That place is not fit for performing any Vedic ritual. That place is not fit for performing any austerity. That place is not fit for any Vanaprastha or sannyasa to reside or to construct a kutir, construct a temple or something like that. So this is one of the important thing which is to be considered in the past. So like that. So in that way, he's telling that Mother Earth is so fortunate because it had the footprints of the deer. No one is as fortunate as Mother Earth throughout the 14 planetary systems. So like that, Bharata says.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, for the cow, we say it is very auspicious animal, like wherever if anything has to be performed, cow is there or cow's urine, cow's
Cow
dung.
is there in the village, but deer is there in the forest. This is for a forest place.
Okay, so those munis and rishis, those who are in the forest, for them, if the deer's
Ah,
footprints or anything. Okay,
that's what. Now, if you see dramas and all, if you see Ramayana movie and all, they would stay all the places where deers only would move around.
okay,
So it's like that. Wherever deers would move, that means in one sense, simple to understand. The deers are living there means there is no danger of the tigers coming in that place. Tigers may not be coming to that area. That's why deers are able to live. That is one way. And deers are living means that place there are a lot of fruit trees, green grasses. Everything is pleasant. It is not so dry and there must be some water facility also nearby. Like that. Just because deer is living means, okay, it is fit for inhabitants. So, like that. It indirectly indicates many other inhabitable requirements.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji.
By describing the deer, Bharat Maharaj indicates the pleasure he derived from it. The footprints show the way to wealth. O miserable Bharata, why do you weep? You will obtain your treasure of life, the small deer, which has entered the forest by following the trail of its footprints. So somebody said that. So why you are lamenting? You are seeing the footprints, no? Please go inside the forest. You will find it. You will find your wealth. Why are you so worried? In this way, the earth is merciful to me and is pacifying me. Not somebody else. Actually, Mother Earth is only telling to Bharat Maharaj, my dear Bharat, why you are lamenting? Please go. Follow the footprints and you will find your deer. So then he says, in this way, the earth is merciful to me and is pacifying me. By spreading out of these footprints as its ornaments, the earth has made itself playfully into a place of sacrifice. So by displaying the footprints of a deer, the earth is indicating that okay, this place is meant for good for performing sacrifice. Please perform something like that. Shruti says, Yasmin deshe mruga krishnas tasmin dharman nibodata. Know that there is dharma, a place of sacrifice, where the black deer resides. Wherever black deer resides, there is a place for dharma. That is where sacrifice can be performed. So in that way. So this is like because the deer is there means any human being can also be there without any harm from ferocious animals. So in that way. Then next he says, the Lord in the form of the moon, affectionate to the helpless persons, out of mercy, is protecting this young deer whose mother died out of fear of lion and who has now left my hermitage. Now sun already set and in the sun, in the sky the moon is already risen. Looks like almost full moon. Today we have almost full moon because tomorrow already Purnima started. Tomorrow is Nana Purnima, like full moon today. So like that. Now the moon is protecting the deer, showing its pathway. So in the moonlight, may the deer return to me. So like in that way, to that effect, he's saying. Looking in the sky and seeing the moon, he thinks that he sees a small deer on the moon. The deer has left my hermitage since I, a most sinful person, have been returned to. So in another way, I was thinking that when he looked in the moon, there are some marks. So looks like so the deer has left me and gone to moon, and the moon is so compassionate that moon has given shelter to the deer. That is another possibility he's thinking about. Oh moon, you are the Lord, you are the Supreme Lord Himself. Otherwise, how could you have the fortune to have the mark of the deer on your surface? So the Mother Earth has the footprints of the deer, and oh moon, you have the full marking of the deer. So you are also one of the most fortunate person. So like that is again glorifying the deer. Is glorifying the people in connection to the deer. So like that. When will the moon give me pleasure by its rays? Rays of cool, peaceful nectar flowing from its mouth out of attraction for me. As I pursue the deer, while my heart, like a land lotus, burns with the feverish flames of the forest fire of separation from my son. So he says that though the moon is cool, it's sending forth the cooling rays, but I am only experiencing scorching heat because I am separate from my dear son. When will the moon will give me the experience of the cool rays? When that will be possible? When the moon will show me the dear baby. In the moonlight, if I find the dear baby, then I will be able to experience the cooling moon rays. Otherwise, till then the moon rays will be burning hot only. So like that it says. Noticing that the rays of the moon are burning him, he expresses his desire. In separation from my sun, the cool rays of the moon have become hard. Ha! When will the time come when the young deer will come back to me? The moon will then cool me down. So, like that. So, this is the level at which Bharat Maharaj is speaking. Thing is that the moon rays are cool, but even the cool moon rays appear to be burning hot to him out of separation from the deer. Will the moon turn me, the pursuer who pursues the deer, into nectar? Will the moon become nectarian by showing me the deer, baby deer? Will it turn me into nectar by inundating my limbs, burning in separation from the deer with its nectar, by its rays made of nectar flowing as water constantly from its mouth, cool and peaceful, intensified by the attraction for me, just as a person skillful in mantras cool fever by applying water from their mouths. The moon should apply water from its mouth on me. So some old practice, one of the ancient practice is that just as a person skillful in chanting mantras cool fever by applying water from their mouths, the moon should apply water from its mouth on me. Somebody who is affected by fever, when they go to a person who knows mantras, he would keep some water in the mouth and chant mantras and take out the water, apply on the body of the person who has fever. He will experience the coolness, the fever will go away. This is one of the traditional way of reducing the fever. So similarly, may the moon also send me the nectar from its mouth. That is only possible by showing me the whereabouts of my dear baby. So these are all different ways he is thinking. When will the deer pacify me out of affection? By the touch of his mouth on my limbs. So the moon touching me with its mouth means the deer should, because currently the deer is in the moon. When the deer comes back, it will bring the nectar from the moon and it will click me with its tongue. By the touch of the tongue of the baby deer, I will experience freedom from the burning heat. Otherwise, there is no possibility. So this is how Bharat Maharaj is worried about the baby deer. That means a king, when he gives a word to someone, to this extent, one tries to fulfill that word. That was the mentality of a king like Bharat Maharaj. So that was the strictness with which they follow the principles in the past. So it's like that. So these are the different words that Bharat Maharaj had spoken. And next, what happened, we don't know. Seems that the deer came back next morning, but whole night he was feeling so much separated from the deer. And the events turned around in such a way that he is supposed to leave his body. And the deer came back. Looking at the deer, he gave up his body. And that will be mentioned in the upcoming verses. Yeah, please someone read the translation. 26th verse.
Sukdev Goswami continued, My dear king, in this way, Bharat Maharaj was overwhelmed by an uncontrollable desire which was manifest in the form of the deer. Due to the fruitive results of his past deeds, he fell down from mystic yoga, austerity, and worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If it were not due to his past fruitive activity, how could he have been attracted to the deer after giving up the association of his own son and family, considering them stumbling blocks on the path of spiritual life? How could he show such uncontrollable affection for a deer? This was definitely due to his past karma. The king was so engrossed in petting and maintaining the deer that he fell down from his spiritual activities. In due course of time, insurmountable death, which is compared to a venomous snake that enters the hole created by a mouse situated itself before him.
His heart afflicted by unfulfilled desire, Bharata fell from his practice of yoga, from his detachment from material enjoyment achieved by bhakti. So basically, his heart afflicted by unfulfilled desire. So it seems that in due course of time, because since he was not able to find the dear baby, he lost all interest in practicing bhakti. Previously, he lost all interest in kingly opulences in order to practice bhakti. But now, out of compassionate attachment toward the dear baby, he lost all interest in practicing bhakti. He had forgotten all daily practices of bhakti. And even from his worship of the Lord, by the Lord's special arrangement of Prarabdha Karma, through the appearance of the young deer, it all happened. It is also Prarabdha Karma. How else could he develop attachment for the young deer? Otherwise, why would he develop attachment to the deer? It is a result of his Prarabdha Karma. While Bharata, who had previously rejected his own sons as an obstacle to the highest goal, and who now produced an obstacle to his practice of yoga, forgot himself by petting, showing affection for, protecting, and nourishing the young deer, treating the young deer to be his own son. Inevitable death, with great speed, approached him, just as snake approaches a mouse hole. It's like Kala Sarpa has approached him, just like Sarpa approaches the rat hole and eats up the rat and lives comfortably in the hole made by the rat. Similarly, out of separation from the dear baby, in no time, he came to the death point. He does not want to live anymore. He thought that I failed. I gave up my kingdom to practice bhakti. I came here to take care of the deer. I forgot my bhakti. I know the deer. I could not take care of the deer only. Neither I could do bhakti nor I could do compassion. Both are gone. My life is waste. There is no point in living further. Something like that to some extent. So he came to the death point. He fell from his position in yoga and worship of the Lord by the influence of karmas of this life, which manifested a small deer to him, which manifested in the form of a small deer to him. So basically here, Acharyas are saying that why did the deer came to him? It is still there in his karma. That's why the deer came. It is still as a result of his prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma is of two types. One is auspicious, other one is inauspicious. The auspicious prarabdha karma occurs by the will of the Lord to increase longing for devotion to the Lord, like sharp ointment applied to the eyes. This is accepted favorable by the devotee. Being similar to prarabdha karma, it is accepted as such. So though apparently we may say that this is prarabdha karma, but Lord himself orchestrated the entire pastime that so that the deer came to him. Initially, he forgot his daily practices because he was taking care of the deer. But now, after death, he feels remorse and he will become double careful to practice bhakti and not fall victim to any other moral code of conduct. That's what we will see in the life of the deer as well as Brahmana Bharata. Both of them will show how to what extent one should be attentive to one's practice of bhakti. Because he has just become lax, in 2 lifetimes he will show the great attention. So like that. That which creates more intense bhakti in the future takes place in those who already possess rati or bhava. Such kind of people immediately will have prema next life. The second type consists of results of actions of previous lifetimes, which manifest later as absorption in material life. So otherwise, for people who still have prarabdha karmas, for them, in spite of becoming devotees, attraction for material things will again reappear in their life because that is there in their prarabdha karma. That is not by Lord's will. So in that way we should be seeing. Developing attachment to material things or material life is due to one's prarabdha karma, not by Lord's will. The Lord's will can be like this kind of thing, the excess compassion and all. In the case of Bharata Maharaja, that is by Lord's will. Here the first type is indicated by the word su in Swarabdha Karmana. He fell from his austerity of rejecting material enjoyment, which was produced by his Bhakti Yoga. So previously he was filled with Bhakti, he could give up kingdom easily. But now by Lord's will only, he attained that auspicious prarabdha karma, as a result of which this life he has become attractive to the deer. But in the next two lives, he will become double attentive. Out of remorse, he will be more attentive to practice bhakti. So in that way. The word cha means even. Even though bhakti does not have greater obstacles, he fell from the worship of the Lord by the will of the Lord only. How else could he fall except by prarabdha karma arranged by the will of the Lord? Otherwise, there is no possibility for Bharata Maharaj to neglect his devotional practices because he was a great devotee, the great exemplary devotee. And this person forgetting his bhakti activities is not a usual thing. That happened means it is Lord's will. It is not just like that. So in that way. He had already given up his sons, or he fell from the semblance of karma in the form of deer. Though the Jivan Muktas do not have any false identity, they have a semblance of false identity. Similarly, those who have developed Rati do not have Prarabdha karma, but have some semblance of Prarabdha karma. So here it is mentioned that the Jivan Muktas do not have any false identity, no identity with respect to the gross body or subtle body. They are already liberated. They are self-realized. They only identify with the Atma, Brahmabhuta, Prasannatma, Na, Sochitina, Kakshi, Samasarveshu, Bhuteshu, Madbhakti. They are on the platform. So there will be no false identity for such Jivan Muktas. Similarly, those who have come to Rati, still you talk about Prarabdha Karma. When one has come to Rati means there will be no Prarabdha Karmas. There is already Ado Shraddha, Bhajana Kriya, Ado Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Amrita Nivrutti, Nishta, Ruchi, Asakti. इतना कंप्लीट होने के बाद when one comes to bhava, even on bhava there would be some a lingering manifestation of material desires, but they will not affect that person. So here Bharata Maharaj is affected by compassion towards deer. That means it is not due to prarabdha karma. It is only due to Lord's will. So like that, it is indicated. Or he fell down because of the inferior fawn through auspicious prarabdha karma. Under the influence of his good prarabdha karma, Bharata took care of the deer. Otherwise, okay, why you want to put everything on the Lord's name and all? Well, let us say like this. So because Bharata Maharaj is so virtuous person, he is compassionate from birth by virtue, and as a result of which he was showing compassion to the deer. So somehow or other he neglected his duties. So he was deviated from his daily practices. This is because of the auspicious part of the karma. So what can be done? He was a king. Otherwise, if there had been no good karma, he would not have a desire to care for the deer. Bharata's fall, however, was arranged by the Lord for the purpose of increasing his longing for bhakti after taking birth as a deer and as a Brahmana. So it's like that. But the right reason, final reason is, actual reason is, Bharata's fall, however, was arranged by the Lord for the purpose of increasing his longing for bhakti after taking birth as a deer and as a Brahmana. First as a deer, second as a Brahmana, he will show intense attachment to practice bhakti. So that is Lord's way of doing it. So previously, when Lord promoted Chitraketu Maharaj as the Vidyadhar, king of Vidyadharas, he was living there happily for 1 lakh years. So he was not thinking to go back to Godhead. So Lord orchestrated, let him be cursed by Parvati Devi. So that he will become Asura. He will realize that no, why he will continue here? I will go back to Godhead. So in spite of becoming Asura, his eagerness to serve the Lord increased. Than previous. Previously, he was happily seated at the Vidyadhara and also worshipping the Lord, singing about the Lord. But he was comfortably situated at the Vidyadhara. But now, the situation in which he is in as a Vrutrasura, he was not a comfortable situation. It is a condemned situation. Everyone in the entire universe is condemning. So he thought, no, both okay either. Let me go back to Godhead. He is telling Indra, take out your Vajra, cut me, kill me with that weapon, so that I can go back to Godhead immediately. So that's Lord's will. Even him also, Lord's will only. So Lord said same thing in the Bhagavatam 10th canto 32nd chapter. This is in Rasa Panchadhyay. Initially, when the gopis came to the forest, he told Lord Krishna told, please, I called you, just I want to see you. So I saw you, please go back. Go and serve your husbands. So when Lord Krishna said to go back and serve your husband, they said, no, you're only our husband. You're only our real husband. So we follow your word. We'll serve you, our husband. So they stayed back. So that time Lord Krishna began to dance with them. After some time disappeared. Then they were searching for Lord Krishna here and there. They sang Gopi Gita and eventually Lord Krishna appeared. And they said, what kind of person are you? We left everything and came to you and you left us. What is this? Why did you leave? What kind of cheater are you? Then Lord Krishna said that, no, I'm not a cheater. I left you so that I can increase your anticipation for me. That was the only reason. In order to increase your anticipation for me, I left you. Otherwise, there is no point in me leaving from you. So like that. In order to increase that hankering toward the Lord plays such kind of tricks once in a while with respect to his pure devotees. That is what is happening with Bharata Maharaj. There, Lord Krishna said that, but the reason I do not immediately reciprocate the affection of loving living beings, even when they worship me, O gopis, is that I want to intensify their loving devotion. They then become like a poor man who has gained some wealth and then lost it, and who thus becomes so anxious about it that he can think of anything. He cannot think of anything else. So even same thing happened with Narada, the boy, when he was the servant of the maid servant. When he was the son of the maid servant, he was associating with the Bhakti Vedantas. And eventually the Bhaktivedanta left and his mother left. He was traveling north and he was walking here and there. At one point of the sudden meditation, he quickly had the darshan of Paramatma. But the darshan disappeared. He again tried to have the darshan, but he could not. Then Lord spoke, just to increase your hankering for me, I gave a glimpse of my darshan. In this life, you will not be able to see me, but next life you will be always remain with me. So saying that, Lord Swani also disappeared. Then he thought that my life is meant for service of the Lord. And eventually he was continuously walking here and there chanting the whole names of the Lord, and that's all. And speaking about the Lord everywhere. So such kind of things Lord does in order to increase one's anticipation or hankering toward the Supreme Lord. Bharata did not think of himself. He was only worried about the baby deer. But in no time, the death arrived like a snake approaching a mouse hole. The same thing we can also correlate with Gadadhar Pandit in Jagannath Puri. As long as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there every day afternoon, they would sit and discuss from Bhagavatam. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu disappeared by entering into Toto Gopinath, in no time Gadadhar Pandit became old and died. In few months only he left his body, not after a long time. That's the kind of attachment they had for the Lord, because he was not able to see Lord Chaitanya every day. He thought that there's no point in living anymore. If Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not there, what is the need for me to live? So like that. Even Yudhishthira Maharaj also, as soon as he understood that Lord Krishna disappeared from Arjuna, immediately said, okay, enough is enough, I'm leaving for the north. He left for the north. So this is the kind of attachment the pure devotees show for the Supreme Lord. They have for the Supreme Lord. If Lord is there, they are there. Lord is not there, they are not there. We don't have anything to live for. So that is the kind of attachment they show toward the Supreme Lord. Same thing here, Bharata Maharaj also showing his affection toward the deer. So like that. Hare Krishna, all of you are there able to follow?
Krishna, yes,
Yes,
Prabhuji. Prabhuji,
Yes,
yes,
Mataji, go
Mataji.
ahead.
Prabhuji, I have a doubt. Prarabdha
Hmm.
karma is a past karmas that is coming now.
No, they're already in action. Aprarabdha
Okay.
is yet to come. Prarabdha means which has already come, which is already in action.
Okay.
Hmm.
And Prabhuji, one more, I missed that sentence. Prabhuji, you said no, material desires is not due to
No.
that.
When
I missed
after
that.
becoming devotees, even then we again show interest in material activities. That is due to our prarabdha karma. It is pending in our prarabdha karma. That's why we are forced to do all those things. But in the case of Bharata Maharaj, personally like Bharata Maharaj, he already came to Bhava. So in Bhava also there is the prarabdha karma shows the desire comes, but they will not act upon the desire. This is said in the Nectar of Devotion first chapter. At the Bhava platform, at the Prema there is no symptoms of material desires. But in Bhava platform, the desires will come, but they don't act. But before Bhava, there is a possibility that they will act on the desire also. This is how the differences we have to see. Before Bhava, during Bhava, and in Prema. In Prema, no desire, no action. In Bhava, there is only desire. Before Bhava, there is a desire and action. So like that.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Ah.
Prabhuji, I have two doubts, like what we were discussing just now, that the material desires will come to the person who is still not at a higher stage of devotion. But like when we say that material desires will not come, but as a devotee, when we progress from Shraddha to Prema, that ladder, like gradually our material desires go on decreasing. So suppose somebody is at the stage of anartha nivritti. So he has certain material desires, but they have not come newly because he has not got rid of his all the material desires. They are still there. So like how it should be looked at then? Because अभी तो गए ही नहीं है ना desires, तो आने का सवाल ही नहीं है नए से. Still that attraction has not completely gone.
That's what we are talking about. Prema, Bhava Prema, not somewhere here and there. So the desire will be there. Till then, till Bhava also desire will come. But one person in Bhava, he will not respond to the desire. But before that, helplessly one responds. Atakena prayuktoyam papam chariti purusha. Arjuna's अनिच्छिन्नपि वासनया बलानि बला तदेव नियोजयसि. उनका इच्छा ही नहीं, बट कोई और करवा रहा है उनसे. So it's like that.
Okay, so essentially here we are discussing of those who are at a platform of Bhava and Prema, where they have completely cast off their material desires, but still sometimes it may come, but they are able to identify it and will not act on it.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. Okay,
The
thanks.
mind will pop up. Mind keeps popping up, even in Bhava platform also, but they will not respond to it.
Yeah, right.
So before that, one will respond.
And like means you mean in lower stages of the devotion below Bhava platform, the material desires will come and the person may act also on it because that control over senses.
Not may, will act.
Okay, will
Many
definitely
times.
act.
So
Okay.
even though voluntarily we may try to avoid them, how many will avoid? Mind has the capacity to propose thousands of desires every day. We may avoid some, but some we obviously will do. See, here the desire means not just sense gratificatory or sinful activity in general, which is not necessary for practicing bhakti. So, any harmless activity also, any auspicious pious activity also, but which may not be required. So, in that way.
Prabhuji, and one more thing, like we discussed that how Pandavas left immediately or how Gadadhar Pandit left immediately. So I have this doubt, it's a long-standing doubt for me that as a sadhaka, when we are seeing, we are also taught that we should see Krishna everywhere. Like even if we are drinking water, we should remember that seventh chapter verse that Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya or whatever, like Krishna is there with us in the form of deity, in the form of his name, in the form of Bhagavatam, like that. So as a sadhaka, what should be our mood? Like really we should see Krishna everywhere in these things and feel happy, or we should miss Krishna, that we are so away from Krishna, and that is what should be our mood really. I always have a big confusion regarding this.
A Aishwarya Bhakta is inspired by looking at Krishna everywhere in all his Vibhuti form. But a Madhurya Bhakta is not interested in all these opulences. He is only interested in Lord. Gadadhar Pandit and Pandavas, for them, seeing Lord's presence here and there as Paramatma or this, that, they are beyond all that. They are actually affectionate devotees. We see now, we already speak about this many times. It is there in the NOD also. It is there always. We have Aishwarya Bhakti, that is called Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Another Bhakti is we have Premanuga, Raganuga Bhakti. In Raganuga Bhakti, no looking at Vibhuti here and there. उनके लिए कृष्णा चाहिए. पर ऐश्वर्य भक्ता वैधि साधक भक्ता, यस भगवान को राजा रूप में वर्शिप करने का, भगवान सब जगह पर है, परमात्मा के रूप में अंडांतर से परमाणु चंद्रसम, they are there, they are inspired by seeing presence of the Lord everywhere. That is there, that is Aishwarya Bhakti. But when it comes to Raga Bhakti, they are not interested in all those things. Like Uddhava, when he took the letter of Lord Krishna and read before the gopis, so they said that I am always with you, I am always in your heart. Gopi se became very angry. क्या heart में है? If he is in the heart, we will sit and meditate and we'll throw him outside from the heart. We don't want all this philosophy. If he is coming, let him come. Otherwise, tell him not to send all this useless philosophy. So it's like that. So you see, the devotees in maturity, they don't want anything else, only Krishna.
Okay. That means sadhana bhakti is essentially in the Aishwarya Bhava.
Ah, yes, sadhana bhakti is always in Aishwarya Bhav. Otherwise, we cannot practice bhakti.
Okay. So when one matures or when one goes to that level, then only they'll start missing Krishna actually. Go, okay.
That's
Thank
what
you.
we said many times. We from the beginning we said, when one comes to this point, okay, Krishna is not there, I don't want to stay here. Then only one is qualified to go back to Godhead. If we think that Krishna is everywhere, okay, Annantara Paramanam, Krishna is here, I am also here. So what is the need to go back to Godhead?
Oh, like that.
So it's
Like
like that.
how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was telling Ramananda, Evo Bhaya, ye bhi nahi, like that. So means whatever essentially we say that yes, Bhagavatam is Krishna, our beads are Krishna, our name
So
is Krishna.
see, that's what
All that,
who are discussing there. Srimati Radharani and Vishaka.
yeah,
We are not on their level. Their talks will be like that. For them, Krishna only, nothing else. Remaining all are not required.
right.
But for a sadhaka, remaining all are required. यहाँ वहां तक पहुंचने तक ये सब चाहिए. वहां पहुंचने के बाद ये सब काम नहीं आएगा.
Okay, right.
For them, that's what Chaitanya Gambhirali is all about. Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? So they would say that Krishna is there, Krishna is in the form of Jagannath. No, I'm not Jagannath. I want Krishna here. I was there. I was plucking flowers for Srimati Radharani to make garland for Krishna, but I came out. I want Krishna. So the mood changes from Vedi Sadhana Bhakti to Ragana Sangeeta Bhakti, the mood changes.
So means when as a sadhaka, we should always have that feeling of gratitude or
It's up.
happiness. That,
It's
yes,
see,
Krishna is
we are trying to understand what is what. So what feeling we should have, it is individual. It's up to individual person.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Really, thank you so much.
So death is approaching like a snake. Seeing the deer, that means when he's about to die, the deer was next to him. Seeing the deer lamenting by his side, the deer is lamenting like his son, and absorbed in thinking of the deer, he gave up his body in the company of the deer. See, this sentence is very important. Even within our families also, when a person is on the deathbed, the entire relatives and family members will be around. In the entire family, or among all the family members, there must be one person who is very much affectionate to this person. Obviously, there will be outpour of affection at the time of death for that person. We might be looking at him only, we might be talking about him only, like Ajamila talked about Narayana. So here for Bharat Maharaj, deer. And the deer was standing next to him, lamenting for him, for his master. And he is treating the deer like a son, and he's thinking that who will take care of the deer? I am dying. He gave up his body. After the death of his body, without loss of memory of his previous life, he attained the body of a deer as if undergoing karma. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tajati ante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavita. He was looking at the deer, remembering about the deer and deer well-being and all. He died and he attained birth as a deer immediately, no time. But since he's a great devotee, since this entire pastime is happening by the Lord's will, he remembered his past life. He did not forget that. So Lord protected his consciousness. He saw the deer by his side, lamenting like his own son, giving up his body in the presence of the deer. He attained the body of a deer, like one afflicted by karma. So, so Itaravat means in normal scenario, this is how it happens. And for Bharata Maharaj also externally it is happening, but consciousness is still intact. But for the people in the normal, they lose their human consciousness, they will get deer consciousness and they will act like deer afterwards. So it's like that. He died and born as a deer. After his body died, his memory of his previous life was not destroyed. However, Bharata was above karma. Of course, Bharata Maharaj is above karma. Prarabdha and all will not work for him. It has already been explained that he has no prarabdha karma. It was only semblance of karma only. So finally what happened? By the influence of his worship of the Lord, he could remember the cause of becoming a deer in this life. And he was greatly repentant. He spoke as follows. Because he remembered what happened in his previous life. What was the reason for his becoming the deer? So he was thinking, because I forgot, became lax in practicing bhakti and I became over attached to the deer, I became deer. This life, even though I'm a deer, but I should not become attached to another deer. Let me not become attached to anything in this material world. That is what is shown in the next two lives. Even as a deer, and then next as Brahmana Bharata. I have fallen from the path of great devotees into a miserable condition. I, being intelligent, had renounced material association and had alone taken shelter of the pure forest. My mind was absorbed completely and continuously in Paramatma, the soul of all souls, Bhagavan Vasudeva, by hearing, contemplation, chanting, worship, and remembering. Anushravana, Manana, Sankirtana, Aradhana, and Anusmarana. But then my mind foolishly became absorbed in a young deer and fell down. So Now he is introspecting after becoming a deer. In no time I became deer. What is this? I was a devotee. I was a king. I gave up all the kingly opulences, came to forest so that I can practice bhakti uninterruptedly. But unknowingly I became attached to a deer and I became deer. What is this? I was daily engaged in Shravana, Manana, Kirtana, Aradhana, and Anusmarana. All these things I was doing. Hearing, contemplation. Manana is contemplation. Sankirtana is chanting. Aradhana is worshipping. Anusmarana is remembering. I was doing all these things. But what happened? I became deer because I falsely attracted to a deer. Atmavataha means wise. I was absorbed in Paramatma, the soul of all jivas. My mind was fixed in taking the process of bhakti, such as remembrance, but fell down sushrava. But I lost the track of bhakti. I was deviated from the path of bhakti. As a result, I have become the deer now. So this is the introspection. Then he will make a determination. He will make a sankalpa, and with that sankalpa, he will lead the life of the deer, very like a austere life of a sadhu. Becoming very disgusted, he gave up his dear mother and went from the Kalanjara mountain. He was born in Kalanjara mountain to a dear mother, but he left his mother because if he is there, he will become victim to his mother's affection, the dear mother's affection. So he thought, no, I don't want to be in the association of deers. Instead, he left that place and again he went to Pula Ashrama. Previously, also he went to Pula Ashrama. He again went to the Pula Ashrama, the place of the Lord, Bhagavad Keshwaram, the place called Shaligrama. It is also called Shaligrama, dear to the sages with controlled mind. And this time he did not stay alone. He went to the place where the great sages are residing. He want to be in the association of great sages so that he will not deviate this time. Previously he was alone. Kalanjarat means from his birthplace on the mountain called Kalanjara. Shaligrama is the name of the place to which he returned. He went to Shaligrama. So some of you might have gone to Shaligrama. I have also heard about this Shaligram. Is it on the bank of Gandaki only? Anybody know about it?
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I have not gone, but I was hearing one of the lecture of Radha Govinda Maharaj, and he mentioned that this Pulashrama, like from in where the river which flows there is Gandaki only, and there specifically this chakra kind of a shaligrams are found in that Pulashrama place.
Okay. Yeah, it is in the Nepal on the bank of Gandaki River only. That is there. We mentioned about it in the past also. Previously also he went there and there only became attracted to deer because he was alone. But now he said that no, don't want to stay alone. I will stay in the company of great sages. That's how he went to the association of great sages who are staying there. In that place, waiting for his death. So he was just born as a deer and he was thinking about the death. So let me not live in this deer body for a long time. But as long as I live, I will practice severe austerities without eating anything, fasting, so that I'll die quickly. Something like that. In that place, waiting for his death, greatly disturbed by bad association. But previously, he was associating the deer and he became deer. That was he was thinking. Taking Paramatma as his companion, subsisting on dry leaves. So deers generally eat green leaves, not dry leaves. But he is eating only on dry leaves, grass and bushes, dry grass and some dry bushes, bathing in the holy water and calculating how to end the cause of taking a deer body. He finally gave up the deer body. So he was fasting so severely that he became lean, thin, and gave up his the body. He was not eating anything that is pleasurable for the tongue of the deer. The deers would like to eat green grasses and fruits and all, but he was eating only dry grasses, dry leaves, so that he will not live for long. He was practicing severe austerities so that he would leave his body quickly. So this is how the deer had led his life and one day gave up his life, and again he will take birth as a Brahmana boy. So this is the life of a deer, life of Bharat Maharaj. Any questions?
Vijay, I had heard that devotees, at least when on leaving the body, they will surely get the human body. But also in Bhagavad Gita, also it is written Yam Yam Vapi Smaran Bhavam. So how we should understand this in light of this the Bharat Maharaj pastime? Because
Simple, simple. See, devotees also, if they die uncompletely, but while dying, if they are in the midst of devotees and thinking about bhakti only, then they'll take birth in the devotee family or in the association of devotees, and where there are good possibilities to practice bhakti from the very childhood and continue on. That is true. Here, Bhartamar is a devotee. See, from external point, if you don't take a large general orchestration and all, he was a devotee, but he became attracted to deer. He lost, forgot practicing bhakti activities, and even while dying, he was only worried about the deer baby. So he was born as a deer, but his whole life he practiced bhakti. That bhakti did not go away. It did not wane. In spite of being born as a deer, bhakti still remained intact. So like that we should say.
okay, and anyways, like the third birth he got as a human birth. No,
Hmm. Yes.
okay. Yeah, thank you.
Correct. Okay, if there are no questions from other devotees, we'll have some small break. Then again we resume after few minutes. Correction. Hare Krishna, devotees are there?
Yes, Prabhu, we are here.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Sorry. So we'll go ahead with the next chapter. So what happens to him after he was after he died from the deer body? Till now he was a deer. He was practicing severe austerities that intentionally, because he does not want to live as a deer for a long time. He was not even eating properly. He was simply eating the dry grasses, dry bushes, dry leaves. So in no time he became lean, thin, and left his body. And then he will be born as a Brahmana Bharata. In the 9th chapter, Bharata is born in a Brahmana family, acts like a dull person, does not desire to take instructions on Gayatri, acts as a scarecrow, and gets offered to Kali. These are the different things that are mentioned in the next chapter. See, now in this life, he will become so serious, that he does not even want to do any worldly activity. His father is a Brahmana. He want to teach his son just to follow the Brahmanical code of conduct, that every day doing Gayatri and all, taking bath early morning after getting up and all everything. He does not want to do anything. He does not want to do any moral activity. Because previously, because of one moral activity, he was deviated from Bhakti. This time, he has taken a strong step. So like that. So externally he was acting like a mad person, but internally he was on Prema platform. So because this is the result of remorse. He made a mistake, he repented, and now he is acting in such a way that will be no chance of making another mistake. So there are 20 verses in the chapter. So different details in relation to Bharat Maharaj as a Brahmana Bharat will be mentioned. So his dealings with his father, his dealings with his brothers, and dacoits catch him for slaughtering, and he will escape from that in this chapter. In the next chapter, after escaping from that, he was going here and there. He was caught by um, our what we will say this the palanquin bearers, and he was forced to carry the palanquin, and that's where entire a new chapter and a new section begins from the next chapter. So that is a different the Jada Bharata and Bharata Brahmana Bharata and Rahuguna, King Rahuguna. दोनों को बीच में संवाद from next chapter onwards. That will continue all the way up to chapter, I suppose, 13 chapter till the end of the 13th chapter. The long section. So someone read the translation.
Srila Sukadev Goswami continued, my dear king, after giving up the body of a deer, Bharat Maharaj took birth in a very pure Brahmana family. There was a Brahmana who belonged to the dynasty of Angira. He was fully qualified with Brahmanical qualifications. He could control his mind and senses, and he had studied the Vedic literatures and other subsidiary literatures. He was expert in giving charity, and he was always satisfied, tolerant, very gentle, learned, and non-envious. He was self-realized and engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. He remained always in a trance. He had 9 equally qualified sons by his first wife, and by his second wife he begot twins, a brother and a sister, of which the male child was said to be the topmost devotee and foremost of saintly kings, Bharat Maharaj. This then is the story of the birth he took after giving up the body of a deer.
So his birth is mentioned in these 2 verses. To a best of Brahmanas of the line of Angira Rishi. So Angira line means in the Gotra of Angira Rishi. These are the set of Brahmanas coming in the Gotra of Angira Rishi, who was endowed with the mind control and sense control, austerity, study of the Vedas, Shama, Dama, Tapa, Swadhyaya, Adhyayana. So, he was practicing all the Brahmanical activities. A strict adherent Brahmana. Renunciation, satisfaction, tolerance, humility. These are all the other qualities of the Brahmana. Tyaga, Santosha, Titiksha, Parashraya. Knowledge, lack of envy, and bliss on realization of Atma. Vidya, Anasuya, Atmajnana, Ananda. So these are all wonderful qualities that are supposed to be followed by a Brahmana. Were born 9 sons, endowed with learning, conduct, beauty, and generous qualities, which was similar to that of their father. So a great Brahmana who had 2 wives. Through one wife, he had 9 sons who are also like Brahmanas, very aristocratic Brahmanas, very strict in their adherence to their Brahmanical duties. They say that the devotee Bharata, giving up the body of a deer, became the male child among the twins and lived his final life as a Brahmana. Charama Sharirena Vipratvam Gatam. Charama Shariram. So this is last body. He attained his last body as a Vipra, as a Brahmana to a Brahmana father, as a Brahmana boy to a Brahmana father. So there are 2 mothers, there are 2 wives to this Brahmana, Angira Rishi line Brahmana. First wife 9 sons, second wife twins were there, and one among them is our Bharata Maharaj. In that life, fearing the association of his family members, see, Swajana Sangacha Brusham Ud Vijamanaha. That means even is worried about the association of his family. He was already worried about the association of everyone else outside his family and also his family. That means he does not want to associate with anyone in this world. So like that. In that life, fearing the association of his family members, he always remembered the lotus feet of the Lord, which destroy the bondage of karma by hearing about and remembering their qualities. He was only into doing 2 things, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. Not even Kirtanam, Shravanam and Smaranam only. Shravanam, Mananam and Smaranam. If there is opportunity to hear about the Lord, he would hear. Otherwise, he would simply meditate upon the wonderful qualities of the Lord and meditate upon the Lord's lotus feet. That's all. He would not speak anything to anyone. Fearing obstruction to his progress, Atmanha Pratigatam. Shankamana, having a doubt that anything if I do in this material world will cause an obstruction, further delay in my spiritual progress and my journey back home, back to Godhead. He did not want to do anything in this material world. Fearing obstruction to his progress and remembering his previous 2 lives as Maharaj Bharata and as deer, by the mercy of the Lord, he assumed the appearance of a dull-minded Unmatta, blind. Okay. Dull-minded means Unmatta Jada, blind, Anda, and deaf, Badira, and mad. Okay, sorry. Mad came at the end.
Unmatta.
Mad means Jada, I think. Or
Dull-minded is Jada.
yeah. Dull-minded is Jada, blind is Anda, deaf is Badira, and mad is Unmatta. So all these things simultaneously was displaying. Same thing we saw in the case of our Lord Rishabdev also. After he undertook that lifestyle as a Vanaprastha, he was also acting like Unmatta, Jadavat, Anda, Badira. There was one more thing, deaf man. He was not only deaf, he was actually acting as deaf and dumb. He was not even speaking to anybody also, Lord Rishabdev. So here blind and deaf is given, Anda also. for the public. From the external point of view, for the people in general, he was behaving like all these things. He especially held the lotus feet of the Lord, whose remembrance and hearing destroyed the bondage of karma, showed the people that he was a madman. Unmatta Jada Anda Badira Swarupena. For the entire world, he acted in such a way that the entire world convinced that it's a pagal, it's a madman. He can't understand what it means to be a human being. So like that, he had given that kind of appearance to the entire world. So it is like that. He has given that kind of perception about himself to the entire world. He's a mad. Everyone considered him to be mad, so that no one will disturb him. The main reason is that I don't want to get into any more worldly activities. This is one of the way that no one will disturb me into engage in worldly activities. No pious activities, no sinful activities, nothing. The father, so his father, first, his father. How did his father, his birth is explained now. Because parents cannot, even though children are mad, the parents cannot leave them like that. As long as they are living, they will take care of their children without fail. That is the love of the parents, selfless love of the parents. So your father is working very hard to train his son because he is born in a Brahmana family. He should be trained like a Brahmana. The father, whose mind was bound by fatherly affection to his son, performed his samskaras for brahmachari life up to graduation according to the scriptural rules, and thinking that a son should do these things as taught by the father, taught him the rules of cleanliness such as achamana, necessary for one who has received the sacred thread through the son, though the son was unwilling. So basically, all the samskaras after birth, jata karma and etc. etc. everything, and eventually Akshara Vyasa, Upanayana, sending into Gurukul, teaching the Vedic mantras, alphabets, everything up to graduation. So up to Brahmacharya life is like Samskaran Vidanana Yata Upadesham. So graduation according to the scriptural rules. So it's basically all the samskara that a parent supposed to perform for a child till the time the child is sent to Gurukul, and also teaching all the Vedic literatures to the child, everything the father was doing. Even though the child is least bothered about all these things, least interested in all these things. Even when the father taught him how to do watchman, how to perform Gayatri mantra at 3 Sandhyas, morning, afternoon, evening, he would not respond properly. He was not willing to do all these things. The son was not willing to perform these actions because he thought himself unqualified since he was constantly realizing the form of the Lord. The son learning from the father should perform these acts. From the normal worldly point of view, the father teaches and the children learns. But Bharata Maharaj, so he thought that I am not qualified to become a Brahmana. Again, humility. So I'm not qualified to become Brahmana. I'm already busy with remembering the Lord. I don't have time to do all these things. So like that, he would neglect all these things. Instead of saying that I am not interested in all these things, I don't have to do all these things, he would say that I am not qualified to become Brahmana because I don't have much time to do all the Brahmanical rituals. So please excuse me, something like that. Because he was always constantly meditating upon the Lord's lotus feet. So he was busy in the other side. So previously, in order to take care of the deer, he forgot his bhakti activities. But now he does not want to spare any time in the worldly duties. Instead, he was simply meditating upon Lord's lotus feet. This is called Smaranatmika Bhakti. He was on the platform of Smaranam. Here there is no chanting, there is no not much hearing, and there is no deity worship, there are no other things. Only Smaranam, Sir Smaranam. Or Mananam, Smaranam, Nirudhyasanam, all these things which are different categories of Smaranam only. That's what he was doing. So what his father would do when father taught him how to do Achaman. So Bharata performed the actions in reverse order. in the presence of his father. When father would say, this is the sequence of doing Achaman, he would do in the opposite order so that the father will give up at one point. Father might tell, okay, aisa karo. So this is wrong, you aisa karo. This is wrong, aisa karo. Like that, he might teach again and again for 4-5 times. But how long is the father also will be patient? Father also has many other duties to do. So when son does not follow the sequence properly, at one point of time, father would give up. So like that. Desiring to teach him the Vedas, he first attempted to teach him the Gayatri mantra during the spring and summer months. But Bharata could learn the mantra only incompletely. So during the spring and summer time, where they would not travel here and there, they would sit and study. Like rainy season also, they don't say travel so much. But here he wanted to teach his son during spring and summer months the Vedic literature. He did a opening ceremony and then he wanted to teach him Gayatri mantra. But he would not chant Gayatri mantra. He did not learn by heart complete Gayatri mantra only. Only half mantra he by hearted. So, so father could not make him learn the whole mantra also. Because he does not want to learn. Bharata, in order to make his father give up his enthusiasm for teaching him, performed all actions in opposite order. He would perform Achamana first and cleaning with earth. He would perform Achamana and cleaning with earth before passing urine and stool rather than after. So whenever, even now also in ISKCON, we follow this custom that whenever we go for passing water, we pass water and wash our hands, legs, if possible, mouth, and then go on with our regular routine activities. We pass stool, we immediately take bath. If clothes are there, we wash them and all everything we do, and then again apply tilak and then do the activities again same way. So, but Bharata would do oppositely. We would first pass the water, and then we first pass the water, then do Achaman, or cleaning ourselves and doing Achaman and purifying ourselves and putting up tilak and all. He would first purify himself, wash himself, and apply tilak and apply perform Achaman. Then he would go to pass water or pass stool. So he would do opposite. So that will be like a really uncomfortable situation for the parents. ऐसा कैसे कर सकते हैं? ऐसा वो वापस. So they would teach him for a couple of times and then they would give up. That was the intention of Bharata Maharaj also. He does not want to get into all these Brahmanical duties. So in that way. However, this was actually correct for Bharata. Because for Bharata Maharaj, he is already on the transcendental platform. So what material contamination there for him? Lord Rishabhdev was also, it is said that since the city people were not appreciating his way of practicing sadhana, he went to forest. He was accepted the Ajagara Vritti. He was only lying at one place. Whenever something would come to him, some people would bring to him the food and liquid. He would, while lying down only, would eat and drink. And then he would pass stool and he would move around only. So, but that stool was translated, it would spell, it would send fragrance to 10 yojanas distance. But from external point of view, passing stool and lying there only and not getting up, not taking bath and all is like ugly, highly ugly, at least for us, since we are practicing this kind of regimes, rigid rules and all for many years. For us, looking at a person like that, we feel very uncomfortable. Same thing we saw in the case of Lord Rishabhdev and here Bharata Maharaj, Brahmana Bharata also doing the same thing. The parents would feel highly uncomfortable. The father thought, I will teach him the Vedas starting in Shravana month after preparation. Now I will teach him Gayatri. So before starting the Vedas teaching, he should learn Gayatri. So first he wanted to teach Gayatri. For 4 months starting from Chaitra, he taught him the 3 lines of the Gayatri. But Bharata could not remember it completely. He taught him in an incomplete manner. So the spring season and summer season, 2 seasons, like 4 months, he spent only in teaching Gayatri only. He could not even move ahead. Unless Gayatri is learned, he cannot start with Vidyarambha. So Gayatri himself is not learned by his son. He can't even teach. There is only 3 line Gayatri. In that, he can't even memorize 1 or 2 lines. So no Veda Vyas started. Being very attracted to his son, thinking that the son would be taught by the father. Though his desire was useless, he taught his son the brahmachari activities of cleanliness, study, vows, following rules, accepting guru, sacrifice, and service, etc. etc. Though Bharata was not willing to learn any of these things, without fulfilling his desire, he died in his house by the influence of vigilant time. Even the father thought that before, because through his first wife he had 9 sons, through his second wife he has twins. That means 10 children. He is already quite old. So he wanted to teach his son all Brahmanical qualities. In one sense, we see that he is the youngest one of all his children. So looks like the first wife died, so he married again. Through second wife, he got twins. So one is Bharata, and before he could die, so he wanted to teach everything to his son, all the Brahmanical code of conduct, so that he will survive in his, he would make his livelihood next later on, at least for that purpose. But Bharata was not least interested in learning any of these things. But father died by the will of the providence. The father had more attachment for his son than for his own life. He instructed his son who did not respect these things. So natural that the parents will have more affection for the youngest one. Same way their father had more affection for the youngest one. The other sons already learned, they all became expert Brahmanas. They are busy becoming, having become Purohits and all. But the youngest one is not able to learn anything. So he was worried about, concerned about him. So in that way. The cause for his enthusiasm to teach him was explained previously. Because the father to teach the son everything. That was the rule. So he want to do execute his dharma, his dharma, father dharma. That is again stated here. The son should be taught by the father. Everything should be taught by the father to the son. Upasamhrta means he died. But before he could teach anything to his son, he died. So then, what happened to Bharata Maharaj? How did his brothers, after the death of his father, his brothers took care of him? So how did the brothers took care of him? That is mentioned in the next section. Any questions? You're following?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Any questions? No questions?
No, Prabhuji.
No,
Okay.
Prabhuji.
So we'll learn. Thereafter, the Brahmana's younger wife, after entrusting her twin children, the boy and girl, to the elder wife. Okay, sorry. The elder wife is still there. Departed for Pitraloka following her husband. So both the wives were there. The youngest wife entered Sati. So when the husband dies in the past, the wife also voluntarily enters into fire. That is called Sati. And as a result, both wife and husband went to Pitraloka. Just like when Pandu Maharaj died, Madri entered Sati and Kunti remained with the children of her own children and the children of Madri also. Here, she entrusted her twin children onto uh, his husband's elder wife and her children, her sons, so that they will take care of these twin children. So she entered into Sati.
Prabhuji, here everywhere Pati Loka is mentioned instead of Pitru Loka. So I always get confused. The Pati Loka means, does it mean that where the Pati went, that is Pati
Ah,
Loka?
so basically, based on the rich piety of the husband, wherever he goes, the wife also follows after him by entering into Sati. So generally, Pati Loka is also called Pitruloka. But if Pati is more pious person, if you go to Swarga Loka also, the wife also goes along with the husband wherever he goes. So that's how it is called Pati Loka. Patiloka is not a separate loka, but whichever loka the husband goes, the wife follows, and it is called Patiloka. Patiloka means that loka where Pati went. So in that way.
Yeah, because in Prithu Maharaj case also, there also it was mentioned Pati Loka, like.
So husband went to Vaikunta, she also went to Vaikunta. So
Yeah.
Patiloka could be any place. Wherever the husband went, she will go there because she entered into Sati.
Yes, thank you. Prabhu.
Anusamstaya means following him to death. So she entered Sati and she went. So now, how is elder brothers taking care of him? After the death of after the death of their father, the 9 brothers, not understanding the position of Bharata and being knowledgeable of the 3 Vedas, but not knowing the highest truth. Na para vidyayam, trayam vidyam eva Paryavasita Matyam Mataya. Matlab they are expert at 3 Vedas. They are expert at the rules and regulations of the ritualistic activity that are performed in 3 modes, but they are not expert at the essence of the 3 Vedas. What is the essence of the 3 Vedas? Vedeshi Sarve Ahameva Vedyo. So Bharata, Brahmana Bharata is expert at the essence of the Vedas. His 9 brothers are expert at the Vedas which primarily teach the Karmakanda rituals. So they were expert at performing the Karmakanda rituals. So this is the contrast between both of them. So Trayam Vidyayam Eva Paryavasita Mataya, but not Para Vidyayam. They are not expert at Para Vidya, the transcendental knowledge. Gave up trying to teach Bharata. So they would observe when father was trying to teach his son. So these other brothers would observe that ये कितना 4 महीना गायत्री सीख नहीं पाए. So the brothers they never dare to teach their younger brother because anyway usually he can't learn any of these things. There is no point in wasting time. The father wasted his time. The father spent his good amount of time to try to teach his son, but brothers did not spend time to teach his son more. They thought that anyway will not learn. There is no point in teaching and wasting time in that way. Thus, they gave up trying to teach Bharata, thinking that he was dull-witted, he was Jadamati. There is no point in teaching him in that way. When the father who desired to teach Bharata died, his elder brothers desired to stop teaching him. So they does not want to teach anymore because now father is not there to say anything, and Bharata's mother is also not there to say anything. So Bharata is at the mercy of his elder brothers. So they only said, okay, no need to teach him. So leave him. Or Navrishtanta can be an aorist form. They gave up trying to teach him. They were not as determined to teach him as their father was. He was free of bodily identification of the dualities of happiness and distress caused by respect and disrespect. But Bharata on the other platform, he was on the prema position. So he's not interested in all these external formalities, learning something or being respected by something, being recognized by something. He was not interested in all these things. That is his position. Then what happened? When ordinary people, the 2-legged animals, yada prakritair dvipada pashubi. That means here dvipada pashu is used because apparently externally looking like a mad is not mad person. But there is no one is intelligent enough to understand this. Because no one is able to understand his transcendental position, and instead of that, they were treating him as a mad person. Sri Sukadeva Goswami calls them as Dipada Pashu, a 2-legged animals only. Animals cannot recognize one spiritual position. If the human beings are also not recognizing one spiritual position, they are also as good as animals. So in that way, when ordinary people, 2-legged animals, addressed him as mad, dull, deaf, and dumb, Unmatta, Jada, Badira, Muka. Here Badira, Muka is there, deaf and dumb. The Jada and Unmatta, mad and dull. He replied suitably. When people would call him mad, oh no, you are mad, he would reply as it is. He would not say anything else other than that. When engaged in working, he worked as others desired, either as a slave or for wages. So when somebody would say that, hey, please do it, so he would listen and do it. If somebody would say that, you are my slave, you should do all these things, he would do. Somebody would say that if you do this, I'll give you this. He would do that, he would get that, he would bring it and give it to his brothers. Something like that. He would eat stale food or excellent food in a little or lot. So whatever is given by his sister-in-laws, he would eat, or whatever is given by somebody who employed him in some activity, he would eat. Whether it is little, it is stale or good, or whether it is little amount or lot of amount, by begging or by whatever came of its own accord. Sometimes he would feel like if his body is hungry, he would beg, or if he is walking on the road, somebody would give him something, he would eat. Nor for the satisfaction of his senses. He did not eat for the satisfaction of his senses. He would eat just to keep the body and soul together. Because body has to be maintained. For that purpose, he would accept whatever is given. He would not demand that he give me that, he give me this. So like that. By begging or by whatever comes of his own accord, not for satisfaction of his senses. Because he had realization of Krishna with visible, pure, natural bliss, and had destroyed all his karmas in his previous birth. In the past only, all his prarabdha, everything has been removed. Now he is simply living on the platform of Jivan Mukta. He is already liberated person. So for him, there is no attraction for good food or bad food. He was simply subsisting on whatever came on its own accord. When there was nothing, if his body is showing the symptoms of hunger, he would beg from nearby, whatever they would give, he would accept it. He would not demand that I want this, I want that, etc. etc. Strong, but he physically was strong as bull. He did not cover his broad, strong limbs. He would not wear upper clothes. Only lower clothes only would wear. Even in the cold also, he would not cover his upper part of the body. In the cold, heat, in wind or in rain. In all seasons, he would not wear upper garments. He was not worried about bodily comfort. Like a great jewel, his effulgence from realization was covered. So his entire body was covered with mud, dust, etc. etc. So he was like covered jewel. His devotional sentiments are not revealed to anybody because he was acting like a deaf and dumb Badira Muka and Jada Unmatta, mad and dull. So everyone thought he's here and there. So his reality was not known to anybody. His effulgence from realization was covered by dust from not bathing or applying oils. He would never apply oil to his head, and he would never bathe. And from sleeping on the earth, he would sleep on the earth only, he would never sleep on the soft beds. His hips were covered with an old cloth. Only he would wear a cloth which is covering his hips. And his sacred thread was soiled. His father gave him sacred thread at the time of Upanayana, and later on he would never change his sacred thread. It was completely soiled, became black. He wandered about and was called a fallen Brahmana by ignorant people. And people who are ignorant of his position, they would always say that he is born in Brahmana family, but he does not know how to behave like a Brahmana. He is a fallen Brahmana, something like that. He was sometimes engaged by force without wages. He was at all times not under the influence of karmas, which had been destroyed by his previous birth. Even as Bharata Maharaj, only all his karmas were destroyed completely. He was already on Jivan Mukta platform. He had gained realization of Lord Krishna with natural, pure, visible bliss. He was always experiencing Lord Krishna within the core of his heart. He was free from identifying his body with happiness and distress. caused by dualities of respect and disrespect. Because of this, he did not eat for the pleasure of his senses. He was not worried about people respecting him or honoring him and showing compassion to him and all. If somebody says do this, he would do it. Somebody gives something, he would take. If somebody don't give anything, he would not take. And whatever was given by his sister-in-laws, he would accept, good or bad, whatever, simply to maintain the body. So thus, he was never anticipating the respect or honor or pleasure, etc., etc. He is not bewildered by the dualities of the body. His lips were uncovered and very strong. He slept on the bare ground. He did not rub oil on his body or take bath. Thus, his effulgence arising from his realization was covered by dust. His sacred thread was soiled. Urmashina. So, whatever it is, in any case, he is living like Avadut. So, something like that we can say. So then, wanting food from taking wages for work from others and thus engaged by his brothers. Farm work. In farm work, he did not work, but did not recognize, level or uneven soil, less or more. So basically, his elder brothers also had some soil, some land. So they would engage him in cultivating some vegetables and all. So the water generally would go from high area to bottom. So you try to send water in the opposite side. So when there is levels, when there is high and low soils, you would take the mud from the low soil, put it on the high soil instead of trying to make them level. So you would do everything in the opposite way, so that you would the others who are engaging him in work would become fed up with his way of working, and they would give him up. So in that way, eventually, in due course of time, he ate grains of rice, oil cakes, chaff, wormy beans, and rice burnt at the bottom of pots, as if it were nectar. So what was given to him by his sister-in-laws? The grains of rice, the leftover rice, oil cakes. Oil cakes means the leftover food items. So in one sense, oil cake, Prabhupada writes, the ground night, when it is you put in gunny, oil is extracted from that, the remaining part would be given to him. He would eat that also. Actually, that is given to animals, but he was given that he would eat that also. And Falikarana, chaff. I don't know what it is, something like that. Wormy beans, kulmasa, and rice burnt at the bottom of the pots when the rice is cooked. So in those days, the cooking is done by wood and all, wood or cow dung paddies. So bottom, sometimes the food becomes burnt. The good food they would accept, and the burnt food would be given to him as if it were nectar. Whatever would come, he would accept it as if it was nectar. He was not eating for his tongue pleasure, but he was eating just to keep the body and soul together. So in that way. When he wanted food from wages, then his brothers engaged him. They thought, if we engage others all day in work and give only food, we can engage him in the same way without getting a bad name. So if somebody else will come, if we engage them, we have to pay them, and so many other things are there. But if we engage Brahmana Bharata, he will do all the activity, and we say that we are paying him and we are also feeding him. So something like that. They would do like that, so that they will not get a bad reputation. That's what they thought. They engaged him in swallowing up the mud. So to remove mud and put it transfer here and there, etc., etc. But he did not understand that scattering the dirt, the field would become level, and that by digging it up, the field would become uneven. So basically, if there is a pile of dust, if you scatter here and there, the entire area becomes flat. That is a normal thing. But instead, he would dig from the land and put on the pile, on top of the pile. The pile would become more and more. The land would become deeper and deeper. So he would do everything opposite. Pinyaka is the remainder after a machine takes oil from the sesame seed. Palikarna is chaff. Kulmasa is bean eaten by worms. So beans mean all the lentils when they are stored in the mud pot. Sometimes some insects will come and they off eat the grains. Such kind of grains are generally not used for cooking. Off eaten grains, but those off eaten grains were given to Bharata. He would eat, which have no substance inside. Stali Purisha is the burnt remnant on the parts. This type of food was given to him by his brothers, but he would never complain. He would eat it and remain peaceful. So this is how the Bharata's elder brothers dealt with him. And then, so the brothers would always scold him when he was not doing properly. He would scold him that he would say that it is waste to feed you. You go away, get lost, something like that. They might have told once. So he left home, or he was just walking on the outskirts of the town. And then what happened? The dacoits a little past time, and then what happened? The palanquin thing and all. We will discuss next week. So we'll stop here with the dealings of Bharat Maharaj with his brothers after dealings with his parents, the father and mother. So we'll continue next week with the remaining part of the chapter and next chapter also. So Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, I just wanted to ask, maybe I have missed whether you have sent the questions like and the verses to be memorized.
So verses have been sent long back only. The questions for the last chapter have already, last week exam was there ना, वो तो हो गया शायद. 6th chapter के बाद exam हुआ था. उसके बाद
नहीं,
questions I did not send.
एग्जाम के
Then
बाद मतलब
this
अभी
section का I did not send.
this is the third
So
chapter. I think,
I will be able to send the questions only after I go back. Till tomorrow I'm there at home only. Day after tomorrow I'll be traveling. Tomorrow night I'll be traveling, hopefully. Afterwards I'll be able to do and send it. So okay, that is second thing. But any devotee have any question? Hare Krishna, any questions?
No, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Thank you. So,
Hare Krishna.
yes, Mataji.